AmandaLand, AmandaLand, AmandaLand. Good morning. Good morning, and welcome to another edition of, oops, that's not, that is not what I meant to press. Good morning, and welcome to another edition of Views from AmandaLand. How are you? I am happy to be here on the right side of history for another show. Aren't you? Aren't you? If you are watching on Instagram, you can do yourself a favor and come to YouTube Amanda Seals TV, where we are doing the show in its highest level. You're not going to be able to hear the music. You're not going to be able to be involved in the chat. I'm also not paying attention to you over here on Instagram. So if you want to be a part of the community, then you got to come on over to YouTube Amanda Seals TV. This is my shirt that I got made that says protect and defend Amanda Seals the same way y'all protect Miss Rachel. People have been very upset at me for critiquing Barack Obama and saying that he did not do anything specifically for Black people. I made a video on my Instagram last night that I will actually share it during the public seals announcement. But I want to say this, for a lot of people, they still look at the president and roles of politics as examples of esteem. And at one point in our nation's history, that was the case for Black people. However, I do not agree that that is the case at this point. So we fundamentally begin on different viewpoints from that point forward. And also, in addition to that, people are like, well, why are you bringing up Barack Obama at a time like this? And I think it's important to acknowledge that we always look to history to examine and, analyze the series of events that lead us to an outcome, whether that's a patient's history for a physician or, the military looks at history to determine how they may have lost, or, when you're doing a postmortem for your retreat. Like the Democrats, they had to look at a history of the campaign to try to determine, well, why did we lose? So when we're looking at where we are here in the United States at present with an administration that is so committed to the disruption of the false sense of democracy, but as well as the continued regression of any progress that this country has made, we have to understand also, well, how did they get the power to do that? And so we're going to have to examine the road that got us here. And until we do that, honestly, we'll never really be having honest conversations. And I think it's also imperative to acknowledge that some of y'all just be looking for a reason to have anger with me. If other people say the same thing, you don't see it as the same problem. And I don't know whether to take that as an honor or an insult. However, I take it in stride. And the comments on the post that I did make last night when I was just shaken out of my sleep with inspiration to speak were by and large really positive and also encouraging. And the encouragement is not in simply people saying, Amanda, we hear you, keep doing what you're doing. It's also encouraging to see people say, oh, I listened. I hear where you're coming from. Oh, I didn't agree before, but I understand now. Or even I disagree with, your opinion on Obama, but I respect it. These are the ways in which we actually move forward, being able to have discourse, being able to be really earnest listeners And also being able to identify that at the core of someone's being where they're speaking from. And if you can't see at the core of my being that I am as Black as it gets, as compassionate as it gets, and as honest as it gets, then that is, I would say, a reflection of your impediment to see authenticity. Because I'm so loudly myself. I am so loudly myself. I'm so loudly myself. I forgot to put on lipstick. You know I love a red lip. Y'all, let me put on some red lip real quick. Let me give you some music while I put on my red lip. There we go. There we go. Some of y'all know about that music. We up. We ain't nobody's fool. We shaking up the system. Rewrite unwritten rules. We speak, the world gon' listen. We shine, we rise. We up. No, John C., there are no plans for the July vacation. I really want to just be in the home. I literally have an entire graphic here. And you're asking, what are we watching? Are you kidding me? You can't list 10 major things Obama did specifically for the Black community. So cut it out. You can list 10 things that Obama did that may have been inclusive of the Black community, but don't just start saying things to be dishonest. He has done things, or he was a part of an administration that may have done things that did have positive effects on the Black community, but no, cut it out. So we are going to have Serene Crown with us this afternoon. Not afternoon, but this show. She is our ambassador of the week. Serene is No Funny Business on Instagram, and she's just really about it. She's just really about it. And so we need to have conversations with people who are about it. You got attacks developing too about the video surrounding someone being angry at me about Obama. Someone asked, would I do a sit down with Obama? Yeah. Why wouldn't I do a sit down with Obama? Of course. Ultimately, the reality of any conversation around government is that if you are going into the conversation believing that critique of the president is an attack, we've already lost the plot. We've already lost the plot. So I think also we have to remember that the president is somebody who is, either way you look at it. Okay, so like on one hand, some might say, well, the president is just a performative position. He doesn't really have the power. He's not the one who's making the decisions. Or you could say, well, it's such an accomplishment that Barack Obama made it to the highest seat of government. You can say that about anybody, whether it's Barack Obama or Donald Trump or James Madison, whatever, like being the ruler of the United States, okay? Ultimately, there's a perspective that those who are looking at that person are going to have that may not be the same as another person. So my point of view is that the president should not be serving the corporations. The president should not be serving the lobbyists. The president should be serving at the will of the people. And in order for him to serve at the will of the people, we can give him respect, but I'm not going to give him austerity. I'm not going to give him deference. I'm not going to just simply be like, well, they're the president, and so they deserve my they deserve my blind support. I'm not going to do that. And I often feel like a lot of people think that in order to be supportive of anything Black, we need to be non-critical. And the truth is, there is such a thing as constructive criticism. I remember one time having a conversation with the creator of the show Forever, Mara Brock Akil, and she was like, you know, we don't have enough spaces where we can actually critique Black work and Black art in the context of this is to make it better, not this is to attack. And we look at any challenging of Blackness, whether it's in work, artwork, you know, political activism, organizing, et cetera, we look at it as an attack. And that's largely because of the context that it is in. It is in the context of a white supremacist hegemony that does seek to attack it 1,000%. However, when we fail to be able to acknowledge not only when it's attack or when it's a constructive criticism, as well as when it's somebody who, whether they're Black or not, is a part of the continued effort of that white hegemony, then we're not really effective at all. We're not effective at all. So I know that my efficacy comes in objectivity and also being able to understand, as somebody who, you know, I come from the arts, I come from theater, where being directed and given notes and critique is a part of your existence. Like, that's a part of that's how your art elevates, is by having, you know, critical analysis of what you're doing and the context being in a safe space. And ultimately, if we focus so much, like I like what you said, EM, right here, if we focus so much on the white gaze, that it prevents us from being able to identify ways in which we're being served, then we are cutting off our nose to spite our face. And many people will suggest over and over again, well, what did you expect him to do? I, at the very least, expected there to be at some executive order that addressed specific concerns of the Black community, particularly policing, over policing. And even if it was what some might say performative, this is a nation that has refused to shift its culture. And the way culture shifts, whether you're in a company or a family, is from the top down. I mean, that is naturally how things shift. So if the executive branch is not actively centering Black people, then how will we be centered? We have seen very specific initiatives and policy dedicated to the LGBTQIA plus community, which does include Black people, to the AAPI community, which does include folks that share, you know, African heritage in some cases. But we know that there have been very specific harms given to Black people that have not been very specifically addressed. So, you know, even in just the context of reparations, et cetera. So, you know, we can share agreement on that, or you can not agree with that. It doesn't change the fact that at the end of the day, I will always critique anyone who is sitting at the seat of empire, regardless of if they are a Black man or not. And I personally, Amanda Seals, do not see how anyone who is truly a progressive, I do not see how anyone who truly is for the progression of the proletariat could envision themselves at the seat of the United States empire in its current state. I don't believe in being a part of the system to dismantle it, particularly when so many people who go into the system, they're able to utilize it, but they oftentimes are very disconnected from those on the outside. And until there is that, you know, interconnectivity, it's not really realistic. But it's so hard because once you go in there, you are. So all of this is very much aligned with Black radicalism, with the Black radical tradition, with Marxism, etc. And people say things like you need people like that though. I mean, I guess I haven't necessarily seen proof of that yet. So as far as I'm concerned, we must be critiquing anyone in government. We must be praising when things are done properly. Properly is not the word. We must be praising when things are done that are attached to progress. However, and I want to make this caveat clear, if the progress is not further actualized in being legitimized in stone, so to speak, if it is able to be reversed, if it does not attach to other methods of continuance, then it is really simply just performance. And, some people, I saw someone say, well, Obama didn't go in there for Black people, and that's okay. And I just don't think that's okay, because Black people were 1 bajillion% utilized to advance his candidacy. So why would that be okay to you? It just seems odd to me to state this person did not go in there for this, knowing that you were an essential part of how he was able to get the position. That just seems like an odd position to take. Then you have people who say, well, Amanda, you can't put it all on one person. I don't believe I'm doing that, though. I don't believe I'm doing that. How am I putting it all on one person? I will also add that ultimately, whether you believe the president is a puppet or you believe the president is the most powerful person in the world in the United States, the president of the United States is the most powerful person in the world, either way, you're attached to the United States, which is a geopolitical tyrannous machine. And I think it's also really not cool that we do this thing where we state that Black people in these positions are not, so we'll simultaneously do a thing where we'll applaud a Black person for being in a position while also saying that they have no power. And so my question becomes, what are we applauding? What are we actually applauding in that case then? Because that was also the conversation around Vice President Harris. She got there, and then everyone let me not say everyone. Let me not be one of those people. Rachel, we literally just had an entire conversation about this. So the reality of being in position is irrelevant if it doesn't have any usefulness about it. So I'm trying to understand where do we gain the excellence from in being placed in a position where you are unable to do anything, because that's what people are saying. Well, they don't have any power. So then they're absolved of any responsibility. So then what is the purpose of being there? And then some people say, well, it's representation. In what way? Is it just because you're in the room, or is it because the optics of it inspire others on the outside? How does it inspire others on the outside? Does it inspire them to aspire to this position as well? So is the idea that you are aspiring to success within a capitalist context. You know, sometimes I'm literally like, I'm not even like, I mean, it may sound like I'm speaking rhetorically, but I be really trying to talk it out with y'all. We don't have enough of that anymore. We don't have enough of just talking it out to try to figure it out. It's like everybody wants things to be exactly perfectly delivered every time, even though they can barely use proper punctuation. So hey, Andrietta, I, as just an individual, I go into spaces always considering, how do I exist as a Black person in this space? How do I exist as a person of privilege in this space, in that I've had access to higher education, in that I had, you know, a stable parent, a stable upbringing. That is how I go into spaces. So I can't relate to, well, it's just enough that I'm here. I also feel like a lot of people think that this last election was a defining factor to how we got here. How did we get here? And that itself is a reductive examination. And it requires more expansive thought. So, you know, there's just a lot of different thoughts on this that would need to be actually conversed about within spaces of willing ego, what's the word I'm looking for? Ego exit. You'd have to be willing to sit with each other and unzip your ego suit and have ego death. Wow, why couldn't I get there? I could not find the word death. I couldn't find it. But that's what it would require. It would require ego death. It would literally require, and it would require that not just for that moment. So what a lot of people don't understand is that I have suffered ego death in very real ways. Public ways. Okay? Public ways and personal ways. You know? So I'm trained in ego death. Yes, or as YouTube calls it, John C., ego unalivement. Ego unalivement. So, you know, it's a real daily practice, baby. It's a real daily practice to be able to do it. Thank you, Yasmin. Wavy Wubbly asked the question, do you think the U.S. will actively join the Israel-Iran war? If the U.S. did not join the Israel-Iran war, it would be a huge shift. And considering what the astrology girlies have been saying about this era, the stars are apt for that to be the case. You better be here, KKM&C, 3 days in a row. I mean, we are involved, yes, Frenchie, but we are not loudly, you know, we're involved because it's our weapons, and we are, of course, on the, you know, a part of the back talking, the back channeling, as Ted Cruz accidentally admitted. That's a dumb man, eh? Yes, he a stupid man. I find Ted Cruz is a real stupid man. But that should really tell you about politics. Okay? When you see the level of IQ nonsense, stupidity that is beat up in there, it should really tell you a lot. Okay? It should really, yes, dotish. Dotish. I find that this is a man who has absolutely no concept of what it is to tell any kind of truth. For the 11th time, if you are on Instagram leaving comments, I am not paying you attention. If you want to be a part of the conversation, please come to YouTube, Amanda Seals TV, and be a part of the conversation. For the record, though, when people ask questions like, have you ever been in civic council? Have you ever been in city council, et cetera, I find that comical, because the answer to that, when it relates to literally any, like 90% of, Black leadership is that we herald is the answer is no. And also, I think it's important to, for the millionth time, acknowledge that being a member of the government is not the only way to be a part of the advancement of the people. I'll say it again. Being a member of the government is not the only way to be a part, an active part, of the advancement of the people. You have organizations that are feeding the people that are not a member of the government. You have organizations that are inspiring the people that are not a member of the government. You have organizations that are healing the people that are not a member of the government. You have organizations that are coming together to fill the voids of the government. So, please expand, because you are existing within a scarcity mindset that does not do anything to diminish my efficacy, but it does deeply diminish yours. My shirt says, protect and defend Amanda Seals the same way y'all protect Miss Rachel. That's what my shirt says. Okay, now I have to put the comment here. I will not respond to comments here. Join at YouTube. It's like, I don't join on YouTube. To have comments addressed. I'm pinning this. So I don't know if you all saw this. Let's get into today's episode is brought to you by Small Doses Podcast. Our latest episode drops today. Side effects of being young, Black, and radical.
A lot of Black people themselves are conservative. 70% of Black people live in the Bible Belt. That is the South. 70% of us live down there, and those conservative values on the land that our ancestors was enslaved in, for real, for real. The conservatism is built so strongly into the ways that they even engage with the idea, America bad, yes, but that America is capable of,
there we go. That's the word.
Genocide. That America is capable of like doing all these things in our name with our tax dollars. And not only that, but we are capable of being complicit in it. We are capable of being so comfortable that we are willing to sacrifice all of the humanity. We're willing to sacrifice all the resources. We're willing to sacrifice all the waterways just to say that we are American, just to say that we are protected by our American identities and our American passports.
Fanny Evans, go check out the new episode of Small Doses Podcast, available wherever you get your podcasts. Side effects of being young, black, and radical. Let's get into some 60-second headlines. AmandaLand. 60-second headline. And I run down some news right quick.
Run it down, mama. Put us on.
Okay, so let's get into some real quick 60-second headlines because I really want to talk about these albums from Sault and Little Simz. Okay, first of all, one of the trucks from Trump's little parade took a life. Y'all, one of the trucks from Trump's little parade literally ran over somebody. And, you know, I just, it wasn't like they were trying to it wasn't like they was trying to weave in and out of traffic because, baby, there wasn't nobody there. There wasn't anyone there. I'm flabbergasted. Like gasted of flabber, honestly. And when I tell you, I hope their family is compensated in financial ways because, of course, there's no way to bring the person back. I've been thinking about something. It's kind of related to this, but I've been thinking about something that I have to do further thoughts on it. But it's kind of like our only way, like the real way that, how do I put it? It feels like capitalism is so deeply instilled in this nation because even in how we see justice served for police violence, the response is just sue them. Like I'll even see people in comments when they see like police violence, it'll be like, oh, you're going to sue the heck out of them. You're going to sue the heck out of them. And it's so discomforting to me that there is no other course of justice being able to be sought, right? Because even if you're an abolitionist, which every abolitionist I know is also a Marxist. So if you're an abolitionist and you don't believe that that person should be punished in a carceral way, then financially they would be then on the hook. But then that also doesn't provide any true merit of justice. Like, I feel like these are the types of conversations that we have to be having. Like, these are the types of real, like, getting in the weeds, you know, eating together and talking together conversations that we have to be having because we are not constructing new worlds concepts enough. At least I haven't been in those circles. And you know what? Let me say this. For those who are in those circles, invite me. Invite me. I want to come. Those are the conversations I need to be a part of. And there isn't enough, by the way, artists being a part of those conversations. Who am I to say that? I'm not even in those conversations. But I would love to see artists loudly welcomed into these spaces because we think different. We think different. You know? So something else I want to tell y'all about is yet another example of how Israel be lying. And it is imperative that we loudly understand this because, so actually, Afeni had a video the other day where she was saying that if they didn't need your consent, they wouldn't try so hard to manufacture it. And I was thinking on that, and I would like to challenge that idea to say, I don't think it's a concept of them needing your consent in order to do what they're going to do, because as we are watching, they'll do it. It's just a matter of how much ease they will have at doing it. That's to me what the goal is. How do we make this as easy as possible? So we're going to manufacture consent to invite ease in this process. It's a lot easier to oppress people who are aligned with the effort than those who will, what's the word I'm looking for? Than those who will oppose it. You can still oppress them, but it's a lot easier when folks don't know they're being oppressed and go along with it. Can we agree with that? Now, something that I cannot agree with is the fact that I'm sitting on here with a black t-shirt and you can't even see what it says. I don't like that. So I'm going to go change my outfit. I'm back. Okay. So Serene is here. So let's actually, let me just, so the reason why I was saying about Israel be lying, because we already know that, but this, just watch this. Just watch this.
Today, we sat down with Ali Shamkhani, the military, political, and nuclear advisor to Iran's supreme leader. He said Iran also wants a deal.
Yes, we are ready.
Shamkhani is one of the few people in Iran authorized to speak about the sensitive negotiations.
We can definitely have better relations with the U.S.
Shamkhani said that Iran is willing to commit to never having a nuclear weapon, to getting rid of its stockpiles of highly enriched uranium, to only enriching to a level needed for civilian use, and to allow inspectors in to oversee it all, in exchange for lifting all sanctions immediately. He said Iran would accept that deal tonight.
And then Israel murked him. Brat. Israel murked him. So this whole concept of, oh, Iran don't want to hang with us, this whole concept of we just want peace sounds like my ex, who would always be like, oh, you know, I don't want to argue, and be the first to argue. I don't want to argue. I'm tired of arguing. Then niggas stop arguing. Out. So the fact that this is on camera, that was the doozy for me, because we there were rumblings about this, but the fact that it's on camera, I want to say that what we're witnessing is hubris in real time, right? Because Benjamin Netanyahu has been able to control the flow of resources to Israel, the access to American willingness to go to war. He's done that with Obama. He did that with was he the one there with Clinton? I can't remember. I know he was the one there with Obama. He was there with the last Trump presidency. Like he was there with Biden. Like he has been, I got y'all in a chokehold for quite some time. So the reasoning for him to feel like he could still swing it is not lost on me. But Gia said it right here. Pride comes before the fall. Pride comes before the fall. Very Icarus vibes. So we shall see, because let me tell you, the whites on the right do not want to fight. Okay? They do not want to fight. I never thought I would see Tucker Carlson. First of all, I don't even like having to see Tucker Carlson, so that's already annoying. But I never thought I would see like Tucker Carlson and that broad with the blonde hair that be running her mouth. That broad with the blonde hair that be running her mouth. That could be so many people, Amanda. That could be so many people. Shout out to Eric, who decided to be an ambassador and go over to YouTube and say, come on over. I mean, went over to Instagram and said, come on over to YouTube. Come on over. I love, though, how y'all came up with various folks that hit the mark of that white woman with the blonde hair that be talking, that be running her mouth. Yes, Elijah. He did leave, and then he came back. But then look at us experiencing that right here in New York. Look at us experiencing with Cuomo. Look at us experiencing that in the United States with Trump. Now y'all just pulling anybody out. Y'all just pulling anybody out. The whites on the right. Yeah. The whites on the right are like, I liked this guy, but I didn't vote for him. I didn't vote for this. What are we doing? What are we doing? This is why also, like, when people are saying they voted for this about Trump folks, I don't think a lot of Trump folks actually voted for this. Like, even the Latinos who voted for Trump, the lie he was telling them was, I'm going to get gang members out of here. A lot of folks, and I know this is being generous, but I'm feeling benevolent today. There are a lot of folks who left their countries because of the overwhelming gang violence that was present there and the narcos, and came here. And, you know, I guess if you say to them, like, we gonna get them off your streets, they're like, yes, white man, please do that, because I don't feel safe. Now, we know that's naive, but they like, gracias. And he got them in they gracias. Mm. Mm, mm, mm. You can take the comic off the stage, but baby, you can't take the comic out the comic. That was off top of my head. So those are two stories that I just wanted to touch base on. After this interview with the lovely Serene, we'll talk about Sault and Lil Simz albums, because I really want you guys to listen to them. I think they're a real treat and really valuable to your spirit and your heart right now. If you came over here from Instagram, welcome. I advise and request that you chill out for 20 minutes before you say something. Don't come in here kicking in the door, waving the 4-4. All right. We've been here. We a squad over here. Oh my God. You know what I just realized? We did not do our roll call. Hold on, Serene. We got to do our roll call. Okay. Hey. We just jumped into the show, y'all. My fault. AmandaLanders here to learn. Drop in and tell me where you're watching from. Let's do it. Let me hear ya. Why am I shaggy? Here to learn. Drop in and tell me where you're watching from. Memphis, Tennessee, Jamaica, Philly, New Jersey, Puerto Rico, Utah, Compton, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, DMV, Durham, North Carolina, Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas, Denver, Cincinnati, LACA, Stone Mountain, Georgia, United Kingdom checking in, Abuja, Nigeria, we international, Pismo Beach, California, Union City, California, Virginia, Southgate, Cali, we got a lot of Cali in the building, Thailand, Middleborough, Massachusetts, Rosenberg, Texas, Hort, London, stop showing off, Reese, we got Las Vegas, Nevada, Upper West Side, New York, Chicago, Tokyo, Japan, London, UK, Scottsdale, Arizona, Patterson, New Jersey, making homemade tomato sauce. Impressive. University Place, Washington, Mameli in South Africa. What's going on? Myrtle Beach and Tours, France. That's a new France. We got The Hague, East Orange, New Jersey, Rio de Janeiro, Staten Island, New York City, DC, Paris, working from home. Bonjour. Trinidad. AmandaLanders here to learn. Thank you for telling me where you're watching from. Washington Heights. Okay. Now we can start the show. I know we don't have a word of the day today, but we're going to get into it because our guest is here. So let's welcome our ambassador of the week, y'all. AmandaLand. Ambassador of the week. Our distinguished guest. Here they come, yo. Here they come. Here they come, yo. Here they come. Yay! Activist and Jedi. I have a Jedi symbol right here on my wrist.
That is so cool. Yeah, I call myself a Jedi because my DNA upsets the Empire.
Nice.
Black and Palestinian.
I mean, that's a lot of vibes. Yeah, your DNA is vibes. It's really just like, I'm here for it. As Nasra, one of our AmandaLanders, would say, you with it. That's what it means.
Absolutely.
You with it. So
1000%.
you guys, we are here with Serene Sovereign. Now, I will tell you, she may be annoyed by me telling you this, but she was like, I'm not an organizer. I don't know. I'm not with an organization. I'm not sure, if we're going to talk about that. I was like, that's not what this is about. You have common sense. I be hearing you have common sense. And I think also there's just far too much gatekeeping that happens around like, oh, are you associated with this bigger thing? Is that the thing that's legitimizing you? And as somebody who actively disassociates with the bigger things, I think that's what legitimizes me, is that I'm not associated with.
So you can relate. Absolutely. Okay.
Got it?
Yes.
Did you have braces, or are these genetically your teeth?
They're not perfect. Come on now. These are my teeth. But no, I've never had braces. They're okay.
You would have got the applause even if you had braces, because I'd be like, shout out to your orthodontist and your periodontist, because, big ups.
Question, should I join you live on Instagram as well, just so my folks can know? I mean, I told them that was going to be on here, but
yeah, why not? Just mute it.
Yeah, there we go.
What was I gonna say? they can't hear all the bells and whistles on the Instagrams. So here's the other problem, Serene, is that because I currently do the show 3 days a week, I just don't be having time. And I will also add energy to like do the assets and the things and all the does and the, you know, and I be looking at folks like, I am so impressed that you had a graphic to give me to post.
I mean, you're doing well, more than a lot of people, Amanda. Give yourself some credit.
Oh, I'm giving myself very much credit. I'm just saying that's why you don't have a graphic to post for your audience.
Oh, it's okay. I let them know in my stories. Everyone was like, "Oh my God, I'll be tuning in." So that's all I need. That's all I need.
So let's talk. I've been seeing a lot of rumblings recently around what it is that we are doing, and I want to start from your opinion on who is we. So
who is we? Okay.
I want to start with who are we considering we? Are you writing notes?
No, I'm just thinking
who is we?
Of who to include. Who is we? So anyone who is concerned with liberation, honestly, anyone who is concerned with the future of this country, anyone who is concerned with the direction we're heading in, anyone who's concerned with human rights, human lives, of course, that automatically includes the pro-Palestinian movement. But I think we're at the point where this should go even beyond that, right? Because if people at this point still don't understand how the blue and white state is affecting our government, I mean, where are we? Where are we at this point? Why are we using our tax dollars to fund these things, whether you agree with what's happening over there or not? So that includes, honestly, that would include everybody, but I know it ain't for everybody either. But
well, I say this as like we just had these protests last week, this No Kings, protest, and there was a lot of commentary about the efficacy of them, whether they were pointless or pointful, I guess. And then, it was a similar commentary that was around what was the other one they had? Like, they always have a little catchphrase. What was the other protest they had before?
Fight the oligarchy.
Fight the oligarchy, or there was like the 51 something. Y'all remember though? What was it? That's how quick time is going. It was
it
3 weeks ago, and I'm like, back in.
It's like April 5th or something.
Yeah, like way back.
I remember that one.
Oh, hands off.
Hands off. Okay. That's what it was. On a Saturday.
Well, talk to me about this, because I have a point of view that I didn't expect to have.
As far as what that specific
as
protest?
Far as these protests and their usefulness in the challenging of the things, because I think part of it is also the things. To your point, some people haven't even gotten to realizing that Israel's a part of the things to be protesting.
We're still,
like that's how far behind we are.
Oh gosh.
You said what?
I was like, we're still back there. I thought we'd at least have caught up by now. But
no, we are still back there. Yes.
So what is your question? Sorry.
My question is, what do you feel about these protests that are being organized en masse? Because you voiced it on Instagram, but these people don't necessarily know your opinion. So I want to start from there.
Well, as someone who has attended these protests, I'm just very amazed by these people's ability to mobilize thousands, tens of thousands of people. I think there was one that even got hundreds of thousands of people. But we all gather around and we all sing slogans and it's feel good and we listen to speeches and it's great and all, but what do we do afterwards? There is really no, as far as I've observed, there's never been like a concrete call to action. There's never been like, okay, we got this many people here. What do we do with them? Absolutely nothing. And then the fact that they continuously happen on Saturdays when nobody important is really at the White House or the Capitol building, it just felt very empty. Of course, the beautiful aspect of it is connecting with other people and connecting with community and finding people in the crowd. But I've never seen results, but even as I'm there sitting there, I just don't see how I'm being useful other than showing up, other than being a number that is, represented amongst the people who are against something. But one, we don't have live coverage. Nobody's covering us. There's no CNN. There's no, Fox News. We have independent journalists here and there. So it just feels very empty. It just feels like a massive, colossal waste of time at this point. At least try to do it on a Monday. Just a recommendation. At least try to do it on a Tuesday. But it's just something I've observed.
Radical organizations that are planning these?
So that's the thing. The successful ones always seem to be coming from, I really don't understand how those take off, because there'll be several little protests, but then the ones that really mobilize huge numbers seem to have some Democratic Party affiliation with them, right? So there's somebody marketing or promoting it in a manner that gathers more people than your average protest organized by a smaller organization. So I don't really know the mechanics behind that. I don't want to say it's agent work, but sometimes it feels like it. It just feels like, okay, how did this spread? Especially the April 5th one. That we already know who organized that. But there's been several massive ones where, and those were honestly under, when Biden was still president. So, and there were several different organizations, so I don't want to pinpoint one. Yeah. But there seems to be, the bigger ones, usually funded by the government as well, that seem to bring in the larger crowds. So, yeah, it's at least I'm only speaking, by the way, about the DC area, the DMV area. I cannot speak for everywhere else in the country.
Well, I hear the concept of controlled rebellion.
Mm-hmm. And
that doesn't, by any stretch of the imagination, feel like something that is outside of the reach of this nation.
Not.
I just feel like there's an onus that should be placed on, and an accountability that also needs to be placed on those of us who do know better, to do different. I know that they're mobilizing these hundreds of thousands of people and it's happening on a Saturday, but I also feel like that's part of the reason why there's able to be 100,000 of people, because it's on a Saturday.
True. But
because we are so indoctrinated in this country. We are really handicapped by the fact that so for instance, something that's been going on for the past 3 days is that people are very angry at me for saying that Barack Obama didn't do anything specifically for Black people.
Where is the lie? Hello?
Girl, livid, calling me out my name. I'm surprised I haven't gotten any death threats. But
okay.
So, and then those who do feel emboldened to come and say something to me about it, for the most part, they're coming from a place of, he was the president. And so they give an austerity to the role of the president. And so that alone, Serene, lets me know how far behind we are, because we're not even looking at the government as if it owes us anything.
At all. They're just there to be figures and make us look good. And they have, under no obligations, that have to, act on those promises.
So if we don't even feel as a people, as a populace, that we are a proletariat, they know we are. But if we don't know we are, then we don't know even what our responsibility is to ourselves. So I feel like so much of the effort right now that I know I've committed myself to is really just trying to engage people in understanding a proper is not the word, but a more realistic relationship to leadership, because they have been lulled to sleep.
That, and people need to have higher self-worth and demand more. Just demand more. I mean, why are we paying taxes? Why are we going on Tuesdays to vote for these people to represent us? Why aren't we making them do their jobs? It's just, what do we demand out of that? It can't just be, okay, I'm going to vote for someone because I like them or they seem like the safest option. And that's it. I did my job. Where are the demands? What do you want from your politicians? What do you want from your country? For you, for your family, for your community. Just that ounce of self-worth. Just increase that just a little bit. And that would be the first step. It really begins right here in most people's minds.
Well, the other thing too is that the people you're voting for do not exist in the same United States as you in terms of resources. Like they exist in socialism, right? Like they have free healthcare. They are supported by
bailouts.
This is a fact. Like people are saying to me, Barack Obama did his service. He should be able to go live as a civilian and be honored for his efforts. And I'm like, let me tell you something.
It's the only thing I can remember of the Obama era is Obama phones, Obamacare. And then, they had this program for like house owners where I guess at least in New York, where people were handed out homes. Yeah.
Here's my thing. I heard someone say this the other day and it threw me for a loop that I have not returned from.
Let's hear this.
The amount of people you kill determines whether you're a murderer or a world leader. If you kill one person, you a murderer. You kill millions, you're a world leader.
Oh, I did not expect that to go in that direction.
Either did I. And when we talk about like Obama, and he is not, so I'm just using him as an example because we're talking about him, but any president of the United States has committed murder.
Mass murder.
Mass murder.
Yes. En masse.
And when they get out of that position, they don't got to have difficulty getting a job at Target. They don't have anything on their record. No, they get free healthcare for the rest of their life. They get Social Security. They get
I didn't know that, by the way. So retired government officials get free healthcare.
The president.
For the rest of the president, at least. Okay.
And he gets Secret Service for the rest of his
life. Why
life.
does he get to pay for it? I don't, I thought we loved capitalism here.
He gets Secret Service for the rest of his life. He gets, he gets to do speaking engagements for $100,000. Kamala just signed with CAA, Creative Artists Agency, which was my former agency.
Oh, wow. To do what?
Speaking engagements.
Oh, okay.
And appearances.
So she just gets paid. Okay, for appearances.
Yeah. Okay, so wait, they said Congress does too. Congress does get. Wow. So Congress also gets free healthcare for the rest of the time.
Interesting. Funny how those votes go in Congress when it comes to healthcare for other people.
So talk to me about what are you doing right now? I feel like you're eating, you're drinking.
I'm sorry.
Can you show some respect?
Sorry about that. Yeah, I am having like my little focus tea.
What was the sounds?
That was the pack for the headphones that I was going to use.
Oh,
but
because
I wanted to put it. Sorry, I didn't know. I thought these were noise cancellation. You guys can hear everything? My bad. Okay, I'll stop.
I was in Sinners, and somebody was trying to open something, and I turned around, and I don't know if they ever got to eat that because the face that I. like a serious part, like when he's at the baby's grave and they're over there like, stop it.
My bad. I don't know. I thought these were noise cancellation.
They're noise cancellation for you.
I don't.
You don't like
how cancel out everything around me too.
No, but the mic doesn't, babe.
Oh. My bad. I really apologize. I'm saying
no, don't apologize. I'm just saying. I just want you to know that noise cancellation headphones only cancel out what you hear.
What I hear,
not what the mic hears.
What the mic picks up. Okay.
Gotcha. So tell me this: what are is there anything that you feel like is happening right now that you support?
As far as which group?
In terms of just fighting back, in terms of resistance.
Well, I was very inspired by the flotilla.
Yeah.
And I was very inspired by what Bisan said, where she was like, hey, why don't we get dozens, 20, hundreds?
Did you hear about Malaysia?
No.
Malaysia said they're working on an 1,000 boat flotilla.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
when is
Malaysia
that
has
gonna
been a
reach?
really good partner to Palestine. I think they had like they supported a hospital there. I know Indonesia has also been a big,
They're there.
supporter. So the flotilla, they also released everybody. I saw that. So everybody made it home.
Wasn't there the Brazilian that was like put in solitary confinement? They released him too?
Yeah, Tiago.
I
made a point of, kind of just going back and forth to see, because you know how things go. It's like, all right, it's done. Greta's home.
I know. And I hope that doesn't die. I hope people really actually start mobilizing towards doing it again. And this time actually organizing with other groups to do it at the same time. And then you have like the convoy from Algeria and Tunisia that made it there, but weren't allowed through the borders. As far as what we can do here in America, I mean, it's really the same old. Boycotting is like the most important thing. Everyone should, if boycotting was just in effect, as BDS movement has instructed us to do, that alone could impact so much. Protesting, as I said, I'm not a crazy fan of it. I know that on Saturdays, that's when most people show up, but I don't think that we need that many numbers. I don't think we need the 100,000s. I don't think we need the 10,000s. I think if you can get a couple thousand of people at the right location, that would be enough.
Do you see yourself as somebody who would want to step into that role?
Yes.
What's stopping you?
Nothing, honestly, but time, because I have to. This is not what I do full time. And even at the moment, I'm just dealing with so much family things that I'm not even able to create content that, I mentioned earlier. But I am in areas where I'm connected to organizations, and it's really just a learning process. I take organizing very seriously. It's not something I just want to jump out and do and risk other people's lives. There's so much to take into consideration as far as their safety, as far as protocol, as far as crowd safety. So it is, but I'm not ready to jump out right now and do that. Just, if it was just me, cool. But if I have to involve other people's lives, that's a different story.
I feel like so much of what you're saying is indicative of the reality that we are so handicapped by just having to try to exist, that was their goal, right? To make it to where you have to do AP adulting. It is advanced placement adulting at all times, which leaves so little room for trying to create new pathways to progress.
And it gets worse every day. It gets worse every day. As we're speaking, I mean, there's just news of every day there's a new headline of what's getting cut off or what's getting affected, and interest rates going up and debt going up and homelessness going up. And it's like, my God, it's obviously intentional, and it makes it harder to, build that community that you really want and to be self-sustainable. But that's also the only solution. Like literally the only solution is to start getting to know the people around you, start seeing what you can barter, the services you can offer each other, how you can actually be able to self-govern outside of maybe even municipalities. But even just taking that first step seems so overwhelming, because it's like, no, I got to wake up and do this, and I got this bill to pay, and I got to go here, and I got to go there, and then personal issues, and even just forget all of that, just the news overload, the information overload that you get bombarded with every single day. That's also intentional. And, our president is like an expert at that. balance.
That ancestral sigh. I mean, I
Yes.
literally brought you on here because
Balance is what
because we really need to. I brought you on here namely because I love your points, also because you are not associated with organizations, but you feel the way that you do, right? And so many folks in our chat are in the same mindset, right? Where they feel that they are hampered with an ability to take any steps to change the reality that we're in, but they are overwhelmed with a consciousness around the reality we're in. So where do you find any semblance of sanity in that?
Oh, group chats. Really and truly, putting myself on social media has connected me to so many amazing people. And, after vetting out, making sure like the person is real, you don't want to, be talking to an agent, exchanging numbers, getting in a group chat, especially even localized ones. There's one that I'm in, but we're, it's kind of local, but we all live so far away from each other, but we really do need to just find a way to physically meet each other. But, if you can't build that physical community, that online community really helps as well. And just staying in touch with people and, bouncing off ideas and also just healing. I'm around a lot of healers. That helps as well. Spiritual healers, physical therapists that give us tips. And these are just things that you have to continuously do to stay in this, just taking care of yourself.
How do you take care of yourself?
Keeps me going. Oh,
what are some
I'm a
tools,
dancer.
some tips? You're a Cancer.
No, dancer.
Oh, I was like, my people.
So I'm in Aries, but cardinal signs.
Okay.
So dancing, stretching, yoga, breathing, exercises, meditation, music, really just music, like just going back to, more traditional music versus mainstream stuff that's out here. That's been so healing to me. Yeah. So
what is traditional music for you?
Oh, like things that my dad used to listen to. My dad who's African. So like Fela Kuti.
And please accept my condolences for your father's passing.
Thank you. Yeah, that was a very sudden event. But that also allowed me to connect to him in, very spiritual ways. So a lot of African music, if I mention some names, some people may not know, but Alpha Blondy, Salif Keita, like the sounds just really transport me elsewhere, and they also bring me back into reality. Like I just get that energy to keep going. So music, really, I don't know how many people can relate to that, but do something that honestly helps you ground, because you can't take yourself out of the fight. That's how they win.
I love the concept of traditional music, but it being more so like traditional in the context of just you. Like, what is traditional music for Serene, right? Because
honestly, I listen to everything else. I love Haitian music. I love Caribbean music. I go back to, Sam Cooke. I got him back there.
Yeah, I see him.
Nina Simone. It's just, honestly, I go back to a time period more so than a specific culture. Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Really a time period.
Yes.
And
we've just missed out on so much. Like, we now with this technology have access to so many things that I didn't know that Duke Ellington did like a whole African jazz album.
Yes, he did. My dad loves that. Oh my God.
I didn't know that like Max Roach and Abby Lincoln did like a whole like black spirituals. I don't even know how to describe it, but basically it's just cotton. I call it cotton jazz because it feels like it is from the depths. And there's like so much that comes out of that music that we don't get in this music now, just in the fact that it was recorded on real and like physical instruments.
Yes. And an album I highly, highly recommend for this time is Pieces of a Man, Jill Scott Heron. Amazing album from every single track. It kind of like takes you. It just takes you through all the emotions.
I'm giving you background music.
Yes.
Summer, grandma sweeping.
I cannot sing.
with her old straw broom. She didn't know what she was doing. She could hardly understand. She was merely sweeping up pieces of a man. Listen.
The whole album, though, and listen to it in order.
Is Detroit on that album? We almost lost Detroit.
Is it? I don't remember all the tracks, but it's the way the album flows.
I'm gonna listen to Pieces of a Man today.
It's the way the album flows. It just takes you through all the emotions involved in like a revolution. It takes you from the anger to the despair to the hope to the joy to the defiance to the it's just, oh my God, it's beautiful. And also What's Going On by Marvin Gaye. Those two albums.
Tell me about growing up and how you became this person.
Oh, okay. I never know how to answer this whole where you're from question because the story sounds so unbelievable to most, but I was born in Jerusalem. My mother is Palestinian. My father is Liberian. Mm-hmm. And I grew up mostly in Ivory Coast and would, go to summer vacations in Palestine, aka occupied Palestine, aka the blue and white state.
Right.
So I would say that from a very, very early age, I was able to notice disparity, just from being able to live in quote unquote a third world country, stop in Europe for a layover, which is like, the crown of the Western world.
Yes.
And then go to like another quote unquote first world country, which is the blue and white state for, summer vacations. But then even within that, noticing the differences between my mother's village, the Arab villages versus the other. So I think I just grew up always asking questions. And my father, being the political person that he was always happy to oblige. And I really give so much credit to my father for the way that I was raised, because he really gave me that social political education from a very early age. I mean, that's like 80% of our conversations were just politics and news and history and culture. And he was a very, I would call him an internationalism. He made like he really taught me like, okay, it's not just about where you are and it's not just about where you go on vacation, and how it's about how all of this is connected, how America is involved, how Europe is involved, how Asia and China is involved. So I had that. I'm so fortunate to have that because, there were some things that he would impose on me that I'm like, okay, why do I need to know this? But now in hindsight, I'm like, I'm so grateful that I have that.
Can you remember any of those?
It'll just be like lessons. So I actually posted a video about this on Instagram. They took the audio off, but you can still find it on TikTok. So just giving me small examples, like, just take a pen. When you look at this pen, what do you see? And most people will be like, well, I'll see a pen, but it's like, okay, but what is the pen made of? There's plastic, there's rubber, there's metal. Where do these metals come from? And then he would literally walk me through the steps, like, the resources would come from the global South, most of it from Africa, whether it's, especially the metals and resources, manufactured, produced in China, sold into, brought over to first world countries. And that's how they sell it back to us in Africa at like, the triple, no, not even triple, like way more costly than what it would cost if we were to manufacture it, right here at home. So just like instilling globalization, but in really minute examples like that. And then of course, as I grew older, like the conversations got more complex, but, just really making me understand the world around me, just using, objects, things that I enter.
Right now, because that is so brilliant.
He was a brilliant man. And today you see these conversations about, the phones, where do the metals come from, right? And who's making them? And of course, the whole tariff war with China highlighted so much about how our goods are produced and the cost of production and how much we pay for them. So these are things I knew at like age 7, and it's like, and I come on here and I think that's why I think I'm, not to toot my own horn, but I'm good at helping people understand, the world around them a little bit more, because I'm able to make these connections from just the way that I grew up, just being that bridge between West Africa and the Middle East. And now I'm in America and, grew up on American media.
Yeah.
So that's really how I came to be. And then once I got here, it was like, oh, now I'm really getting to live the American experience with my own eyes and seeing what it's like, which honestly was a total scam. I regretted it instantly. Like, why am I here? I want to go back home. But
what's considered home? Cote d'Ivoire?
Cote d'Ivoire, Liberia as well. That's where my dad had decided to retire. And of course, Palestine. But that's not really an option for me right now.
Okay.
But I would love to, go back home. But yeah, right now, home is America, as we say.
America. Well, for what it's worth, we appreciate you being here, even though you don't want to be. I'm here, even though I don't want to be.
Why would you say that?
In America?
Oh, you mean, I thought you meant on the show. Okay.
No, America.
Wow, America. Yeah, I mean, it was interesting moving here because America is such an expert at marketing itself to the outside world as this, land of the free. Anybody can make it, just got to work hard, your opportunity, yada, yada, yada. It's great. And I remember like within my first month coming here.
How old were you when you came here?
17. I was 17 because I came here for college.
Where'd you go to school?
ACC, Texas. So I first went to Texas, took some classes in UT.
Your start in America was in Texas.
But it was Austin. It wasn't too bad.
Okay, fair.
Yeah, Austin was, it's like the liberal,
Be in Texas, be in Austin.
In Austin, yeah. And, I would take trips to Houston, which I also love, and San Antonio. But no, Austin was pretty ahead of his time, to be honest. We're talking like 2007. And one of the first things I noticed was like, okay, nothing seems to be the way they are. Like if something costs $5, it really costs 6.3 because it doesn't include taxes. Like where do they do that at? Like everywhere else, it's like, it's $5, it's $5. Cool. Over here, it's like, oh, it's not including the taxes. Right. And the second thing I noticed is, ish. The second thing I noticed was how horrendous the media is. And I would just watch the news like, how is this the news? Like, this is what American, like, why are we talking about celebrities? Where is the global, information? Because that's what I grew up on. Like every, 7 p.m., you sit in front of your TV, you hear about China, you hear about Europe, you hear about America, you hear about local things, you hear about the rest of Africa, you hear about the Middle East, obviously. And here it's just like, oh.
Justin Bieber. When I
At the time, it was Kim Kardashian.
Let me tell y'all, when I was on the Real, I had never watched an episode of The Real. I was on a talk show called The Real. And I had never watched an episode of it when I got on, like I had been on the show and I enjoyed it. So when they asked me to be on there for real, on The Real, for real, I was like, let's do it. But once I got on the show, like I never actually watched any of our episodes until the pandemic.
Oh.
And we would record and then I went in my mom's room to watch the episode. And we talked about Justin Bieber's mustache for 7 minutes. And I knew in that moment, I have to pray for an exit from this show.
No, because the priorities are insane. It's very intentional. And those are things I noticed at 17. Like, okay, the media here, garbage. Like I need to like go back to my independent sources because I just don't understand. And then speaking to Americans, that was another reality check. Like, oh, you guys really don't even know where Iraq is, like on the map. So, the education system,
this is literally why we have a map. Because I know that a lot of us, we didn't get this.
And I always ask people like, do you guys not take geography class in school? And they're like, we do, but we learned about the 50 states. I'm like, world geography?
Like if I really think about my education, so much of it came from home. Like I know about the globe because I had a parent from Grenada who had went to nursing school in London, and I was in Australia by the time I was 3. So I had a passport and I had existed in the world. But once I got to school, like that wasn't reflected in anything. I just remember in school doing a project on Grenada and showing a picture of a breadfruit, and my teacher in Orlando, Florida, being angry with me. Not angry, but she was like, there's no such thing as a breadfruit. That's, you're thinking about fruitcake. And I was like, no. No, it's a fruit.
Actual biological fruit.
It's an actual fruit. It's on trees. And she really did not believe me. And my mom went to the West Indian store and like got a breadfruit and was like, bring this to school. This is a breadfruit. It's a breadfruit.
Yeah, it's
so then how have you managed to adjust, if at all? I mean, how old are you now?
I'm in my 30s, but who's counting?
Well, because you've been here a while. So
I've been here since 2000. So I came for college 2007, and then I went back to Palestine for a year, and then came back, moved to New York 2010, and then I've just lived here ever since. So that's 15 years plus the 2 that I did in Austin. I mean, you adjust, you know. I'm very adaptable because, again, I grew up moving from place to place. So did high school in Palestine. That's where I graduated. So it was everywhere I go. It's just like, I'm good at absorbing the language. I'm good at absorbing accents, and I'm good at just assimilating, maybe even camouflaging sometimes. But also always remembering how I was taught and raised. And I think that's what keeps me grounded and not get too carried away with what's going on over here. But you adjust, and you get to meet amazing people. And I was honestly fortunate to be like adopted by amazing communities here, especially in New York. You know, I was like with so many different like conscious Black groups that really took me under their wing. So that's another aspect of, my political knowledge is the groups that I've been around since I came here.
Where did you go to school for?
Oh, I went to study civil engineering and architecture. Yeah. Look at your face.
I'm like, you building bridges?
That's what I wanted to do. Yes, literally. That's what I wanted to do. The goal was to become an engineer, go back to West Africa, develop. But then, I realized civil engineering here just meant you had to work for a firm, and really, you don't really have the liberties that I thought I would have as a civil engineer. So then I moved into real estate, and now I'm in finance. But that's what I went to school for, engineering.
You're in finance?
Mm-hmm. I'm a financial educator.
How does that work with your politics?
It does, because I don't do stock market. Mm-hmm. I'm more so in teaching people how to protect their assets, how to protect their family, how to use like life insurance as your own personal bank, how to plan for college, how to retire tax-free. Mm-hmm. So these are things. Another thing I noticed about this country, there's really no financial education, and that's also on purpose. There's some tools that are only reserved for some people, some loopholes that only some people know about. Mm-hmm. And it really started with real estate, actually. So from engineering, construction, real estate, I was working for a firm in New York that specifically targeted Black and Latino families who are under foreclosure. Okay. And part of the gentrifying process of Brooklyn, and a lot of, so I got to see the mechanics,
just and predatory
practices. And one thing I noticed was how many people they would target who, the homeowner would pass away, didn't have life insurance. So the home would obviously fall into foreclosure. The family can't pay for that. And then they come in like, hey, we can buy your house, and so many people have lost their houses like that. And when somebody introduced me to finance, it just made sense to, okay, well, how about we teach people how to prevent these situations? so that you get to keep your property, you get to pass that down to your, your future generations, you get to transfer wealth to your future generations. So finance for me has become even part of my activism. It's not like, oh, I'm just in it to, put your money in the stock market and make money. I actually I never even took the license to do like the stock market thing, the Series 7. I don't want to do that. I'm not in it to risk your money or make my clients lose money. It's really about teaching you how to really play this game and hopefully win, because it's set up. It's so rigged. Like it's so rigged against
this is why when people say that there's no such thing as systemic racism, I find that to be a gross example of their ineptitude.
Just Google redlining. Just Google that. Start there. One example.
So my last question for you is this.
Mm-hmm.
What do you feel your ancestors would say about where you are in where we are?
Where I am? I think my ancestors would be proud of where I am, because a lot of people in my position are not speaking up. And when I say my position, I'm speaking of, so people, this is a group of Palestinians that people kind of just gloss over. Usually when people think of Palestinians, they think of West Bank, Gaza, but there are those of us who are within the state of Israel. And those of us there, one, a big majority of us are also indoctrinated into that Israeli society. And two, either that or are extremely fearful of speaking up. And I was in the beginning, because I have family there. I didn't want them to start, to get targeted by the things that I put on social media. But I still took that risk, and taking that risk has, for example, one of the first people right after October 7th that even brought up AIPAC and the Israeli lobby. And right after that, I started seeing multiple content creators talking about AIPAC. And I was like, yay! Good, because I don't want to do all the work. I want, you guys to take that off of me. And, just things, for example, the Israel not banning DNA tests, that came from me. People started doing content on that. So I think, obviously, there's so much more I can do, so much more. And it weighs heavy on my mind every single day. But I think for the fearlessness that I have exhibited so far, they'd be happy about that. Now, as far as other people, it's really painful, to be honest, because it feels like, Palestinians are like currently the sacrificial lambs used to awaken the masses. And it's painful that it has to be that way. But at the same time, we know that we have this quote, Maktub, it is written, these things are happening exactly the way they're supposed to happen. And I would hope that more people would wake up. But it is beautiful. It's been amazingly beautiful. That's what keeps me sane as well, is the amount of people that do show compassion and do empathize. And even if they are not able to take those steps because they're in their comfort zone, the empathy that the world has shown towards Palestine, towards even the Congo, Sudan, towards what's happening globally, because it's I'll keep saying this, it's bigger than Palestine. It's not just about the people in Gaza. This has been the spearhead that opened up so many other issues. It's really, I call us the keepers, because we're the keepers of the truth. And that has now been open for other people to see what's happening around the world, not just Palestine. And I would want, first and foremost, for that change to happen mentally, for people to understand how connected everything is. And then from there, we can talk about action, because I think people are stuck on action because, one, the knowledge isn't there, the solidarity isn't fully there. So that's the first step. I think I truly feel like when I get these downloads, it's like, help people connect the dots, help people see how this is all connected and how this can also boomerang back right here in America, where you think you're safe and comfortable, you're not. And from there, maybe like people can be mobilized to do something.
Well, I love this. I want you to go back and listen to your answer that you just gave
Okay.
in response to the first question that I first asked. Because ultimately, we're calling for action to a base that still hasn't understood themselves as tools for their own freedom.
Americans don't understand that they are the most powerful citizens on the planet.
They do not, and that is by design.
Your dollars,
I
voice.
feel your like frustration, but you literally just spoke to the answer to why you're frustrated, because people don't know. We're so behind, Serene, like so behind. So behind. And you knew at 17 we were behind.
Oh, girl. Imagine growing up for the last, 15, how old am I? I don't count anymore, but years of just being around people that you just know have absolutely no idea of what's going on. And you're just the only one like with all this knowledge. And, and I bring it up and everyone who knows me knows I'm political. No matter what kind of conversation we have, it's gonna come up. I'm gonna find a way to relate the chocolate drink that you're drinking to the cocoa being
Where's
processed.
that chocolate drink from?
Yeah, like from Ivory Coast.
Because let me tell
South
you,
slavery. Okay, so I'm that person. I'm gonna be that person that's gonna really burst your bubble every single time. But we just need so much more of that, but I do think, listen, I know we want to be like, oh, people are behind, but
no, I
October 7 was hell. Like, to me, this is like, okay, people are waking up, and that gives me a lot of peace, because that's just, I can say it's just the beginning. And of course, we're being repressed and we're being censored, and it's harder to reach people, but we have to find other avenues. And that's something, me and a couple of comrades are talking about. How do we take this from offline to, spreading QR codes, spreading flyers, actually.
I was literally going to say, I feel like you need to make some fanzines, what are they called?
Absolutely.
Some fanzines.
Fanzines, yeah. And just doing that, just because I'm honestly getting tired of the online space. I'm really right now not creating content because I want to work more on things that I can tangibly print out and give to people, so that's that.
I can't wait till you do. I know it's going to be brilliant, just like you. And but so even though you're not making content, just in case you change your mind, folks. And let me say this too. Even if she isn't making anything new, it's worth going back and reviewing what has been made, because a lot of the information that you've shared is consistently present still, because we have not found the solution and we haven't been able to topple them. So make sure to go follow at no.funny.business, which this name now also means more now that I know what you do for a living. It has a double entendre.
It does. I didn't mean it that way, but it does. I would recommend you to go to my TikTok, because Instagram has deleted me twice since. Got it. So there's a lot of content that's not made it back on there, but is on TikTok. And can I also just shout out somebody before I head out? So there is a Caribbean person in Gaza. I don't think people are aware. Yeah, his name is Comrade Libre. He's Afro-Boricua, and he's been there before October 7th. Okay. He is still stuck there. And he reports every day. He gives us updates of what's going on. He's very close to the Seine as well. And I just feel like everybody needs to know that. Like, everybody needs to know about this man and go follow this man. His name is Comrade Libre on Instagram. And he also translates content in Spanish for the Spanish speakers. So
Afro Aboriginal 47.
That him. Mm-hmm.
It says followed by no.funny.business.
That's right.
All right, I'm following Comrade Libre, Afro Aboriginal 47. I don't know what I do this every day. Every day I try and show my phone, and every day I'm like, Amanda, they can't see it.
Yeah, the glow. So I figured you'd like that, because he's Caribbean, and he also gets involved. Yeah, he also gets involved with other Caribbean groups. So there's like the Trinidad and Tobago Action for Palestine, and Barbados and Jamaica. So there's solidarity coming from everywhere, which is beautiful. But I just really wanted to shout him out and, make sure people go follow him.
Well, thank you so much. We are going to go follow him, and we are going to continue to follow you. And when the fanzine hits the streets,
I'll make sure I create content on that. Don't worry about it.
well, man, I want the actual fanzine. So, that's all I'm saying.
Mail, email, mail, whatever you want.
Send it my way. Thank you so much, Serene.
You're most welcome.
You see what happens? We connect. That's what has to happen, y'all. We have to continue to connect with the folks out here, not just doing the traditional things, but also just existing in consciousness. And that's what I wanted to demonstrate for you all as somebody who I believe is very similar to so many of you all here in the chat. You live in consciousness every day, and you're frustrated, you're irritated, you still have to live in this capitalism and answer to capitalism, but you also are trying to live your values. How? So I wanted to demonstrate for you all somebody who is doing that on a daily basis, because I know that it's difficult. I do it on a daily basis too. So let's get into our Level Us Up segment for this week. I hate when I say it and then I'm like not ready to do it. Okay, let's level us up. AmandaLand. We up. All right, y'all. So it's very rare these days that I get to hear new music that I'm very excited about, but this is one of those times. Very, very happy to have new music bumping in the whip. Okay, so both of these albums are coming from Black British artists. We've got Sault, their latest release, 10, and we've got Little Simz. All right, Little Simz. So first of all, let's talk about Sault and 10. Now, I will say that in both cases, these are albums that are very specific in their musical energy, right? Like some albums are trying to give you a little taste of everything. For instance, like Benito's last album, Debí tirar más fotos. It's all over the place, but that's the vibe of the whole album, right? However, I will say that these albums are much more organized in terms of their sonic dynamics. Now, to give you some background, Sault is the 12th studio album from, 10 is the 12th studio album from Sault, and it dropped in April. But if you love Cleo Sol, you need to listen to every Sault album because she is married to the founder of Sault. Sault is it's basically a group that's comprised of a bunch of different British producers, and they don't do no press, they don't do no videos, they don't do none of that. All right? Like they really be on some weird. Wait. Sault stole Little Simz money. Wait, what? Hold on. Back up. What is the tea? Reese, give us the tea. Songs such as Thief and Hollow are very personal because Simz is referring, holy crap, to her former producer Inflo, who is married to Cleo Sol, yes, who stole about $1 million from her. How? What? Well, let me tell you the irony in that. I don't like that. That makes me very upset. Because so much of Sault's music is about revolution and resistance, and we're stealing from each other? Come on! And this particular album is super about like high vibes and spirituality, singing about God. No, nothing like this love, this light in us. Damn. Because once we get to Little Simz album, Lotus, I was going to say her album, this is deep. Saquon, you're so right. Salt is salty. Yeah. Damn. Well, Jan's 21. We're going to listen to the message and flame the messenger because we are not about that. We are not about that. So little Simz, and I have to say her name like that every time because she is definitely giving you accent rap. Now I don't like, typically I don't like accent rap, but that particular style of accent rap that Lil Simz is giving me, I do like it because I feel like she's really leaned into, I'm really British. I'm really gonna just go full Brit with it. I'm really about wet. And I love it. It feels like commitment and authenticity. Authenticity. One way down a one way. That's one of my favorite. That's not a song that has anything to do with Lil Simz, but it's an accent rap song by British rappers. One way down a runway. One way down the wrong way. Yeah. Okay, bruv. Exactly. So now I've got to talk about it in a British accent. All right. So Little Simz is really just telling you everything very sharp on this album. She's not holding back. She's really talking to you as somebody who's been through quite a bit. It's like she's coming out of a Saturn Returns. She's 30 or 31, so it makes sense. It's like she's gotten clarity, right? She's gotten clarity. That's actually how they say it. She's gotten clarity, bruv, in it. She's got clarity in it. And she's really saying everything in such sharpness. There's really no like, oh, you have to figure it out. No nuance of like, oh, it's double entendre. No, she's like, this is really whack. I don't like how you've treated me and I don't gonna deal with it anymore. You're a loser. And now I'm hearing that that's because she's talking very specifically to these very specific people. I don't like you, and I feel sorry for your wife. Damn it. And she has a lot. Yes, Miss Bless 313 says she has this track called Point and Kill. It's an absolute banger. I love the track Lonely, when she's talking about sitting on the floor and listening and trying to figure out how to write a song. And she has a whole record. She has a whole record with her brother that she does. I'm not really sure if it's like the rapper that she's doing it with. She's doing like an exchange with like someone who's her brother, and it's a unique way of representing the sibling relationship, right? So she's really just like in it. Then she has a song Young that is like, I am British. The song is, it's like she has to do the video in a cup of tea. Like in an actual cuppa. Right? So now we've got tea from our British connection, Reese. This gives me so much more context for why this album is the way it is. And let me tell you, it starts off out the gate, right? It starts out the gate. We're coming for your neck. And I was listening to it and I was like, that's an interesting way to start the album with Thief. Because it means, you know, she wanted people from the beginning to have you just by the neck. And then now I know it's because I'm not even going to hide this deeper in the album. I'm going to put it right here because I want you to make sure you hear it from the top. And then, yes, the song Hollow, which now we know is actually about the Sky and Flo, who's married to Cleo Soul. Hollow is very scathing. It's very sharp. And for anybody who's ever been with a narcissist, when you listen to the song Hollow, you're really like, oh yeah, I know this. I know this. Appreciate it, because we don't have enough people really talking about things in this way and really calling out folks who are twats for who they are. So appreciate it. with Little Simz. Appreciate it, bruv. So everybody, ta-ta, Patricia. So everybody, you know, I'm not going to say don't listen to the Sault album, because for what it's worth, even though the producer is clearly, in the opinion of Little Simz, quite Reese, what would be a way for me to say how Little Simz feels about the producer? What would be a good British term to use? I want to make sure that I'm doing it properly. You know, I don't want to use an American terminology, because that would be African American vernacular English. A wanker! He's a right wanker! Yes! He's a right wanker, isn't it? A knob, a lowlife, a tosser. Definitely all of those things. A lowlife, a knob, a tosser, a wanker. All right. A muggle. So, that being said, a tart, a nutter, a snitcher. That being said, I think it's still worth listening to Sault's albums. There's a lot of amazing records on the albums, really incredible music, really just fabulous contexts about revolution and resistance and spirituality and whatnot. So I don't think it's really in our best interest to completely discard it because of the wasteman behavior of Influ. I don't want it. So we're going to just discard that. Remember, he's also not the comprehension, like he's not the comprehensive of the group. But you're right, Reese, this context is incredibly important. And I think it gives just a real important aspect to how the two projects may be related. You feel? How they might be related. So I'm going to do more research on this. I would love to meet Little Simz one day. Yes, Cleo Soul is on the record that I actually got introduced to Little Simz through, which is a song called Woman. So who knows? Is Cleo Soul a happy camper in the relationship? We don't know, but maybe we'll get an album about that eventually. So there you have it. Thank you so much, Reese, for giving us this. This was so necessary, important. And I feel like a lot of people may not have ever even had any access to that, but we gave it to you right here at Views from AmandaLand. That was really fun. Yeah. That was so fun. She's a thespian. Bloody brilliant. Cheers. Cheers. Yes, Jonathan. Reese be coming through with the music and the movies and the shows. Reese is going to give you some pop culture, okay? We got to get Reese on here. When Desmond can't make it for Watch Don't Watch, we got to get Reese. So Reese can give us in a British accent. Okay. All right, everybody. This is what we're watching right now. This is what I thought about Severance. Reese was not letting me not talk about Severance, y'all. Okay? Reese was like, ma'am, what? Come on. Reese, you love it. Fabulous. All right, we're going to figure out how to make it happen. We're going to figure out how to make it happen. I love that. So I got to have a West Indian accent on the show today. And then we got a British accent that came out on the show today. And then you've got Amanda. So fabulous. I just hope y'all know how much I love doing the show, and I love doing the show with y'all. So before we go, we're going to get into a public sales announcement. And today's public sales announcement is the video that I posted to Instagram last night. So here's some context. Let's get into it, and then I'll give you some context. AmandaLand. PSA. So I am not somebody who doesn't care about what everybody thinks. I don't care about what most people think. But I also, one of the biggest things that I really hate is just being misrepresented. That's actually more so what it is. It's not that I care what they think. I just am like, I want to make sure my narrative is properly placed because I don't want to be misrepresented or misinterpreted in a way that is not accurate, right? And so when I see that happening, particularly if it's by my own design, then I get really frustrated by it. But in this case, it was because of the shadiness of the Shade Room. They took a clip from the show where I was talking about, you know, I don't believe Obama has really done anything that is specifically for Black people. I don't, and no one can give me that examples. So they cut that clip and then they put it out there because that's how they get likes. That's how they get engagement, is by, rage bait and toxicity, etc. It doesn't change the fact, though, that so many people are really not informed about the concept of the president, but I feel like that also aren't thinking about it in a larger context. And so when I was going to sleep last night, I couldn't sleep. Like, you know, when they be showing in movies where people are like tossing and turning, like, and it was like, because my brain was like still processing, and it was like, like my brain was like, no, we're getting a download. We're getting a download. Ladies and gentlemen, we're getting a download. Ladies, gentlemen, non-binary individuals, a download is incoming. No one can give an example, Truth Shurub, because he did not do anything specifically in name for Black people. He did not. That was always the argument. He did things that included Black people. So, irregardless, my point, even if that point manages to be debunked, it doesn't change the fact that when we are looking at the president of the United States of America with a level of austerity and not with the willingness to be challenged, we are doing ourselves a great disservice. That's what we're actually doing. So this was the video I posted, and it is my PSA for today. You know, I was lying here trying to go to sleep and my mind was racing because I'm hearing all y'all in my head, right? I'm hearing all the people who are mad at me and who are like, you know, why is she talking about Obama? Why is she hating on Obama? You know, we got this racist man in office right now and she's picking this time to critique Obama. And I can understand why you would feel that way. But hear me out. So the reason why we ended up getting even a semblance of civil rights was due to the constant effort of civil rights leaders pushing up against the United States in very direct fashions, specifically for the advancements of Black people, in order for us to get repair for the very specific ways that we were harmed. So eventually the Voting Rights Act and the Housing Rights Act and the Civil Rights Act, all of these things happened after constant efforts by the freedom riders, voting rights activists, the sit-ins, people on several levels challenging America to show up for us. I was raised learning about those people and their efforts, and that it required direct effort. What I feel has happened since then is those people and their efforts have been replaced with politicians and efforts that are muted, efforts that seek to dissolve Black identity into an American milieu that ignores the specific repair that we deserve. And so for me, Obama literally and representatively is a part of that effort. And what I feel that it does is it distills, it diffuses the radical, revolutionary effort that is needed for us to ever have true egalitarianism in this nation, and suggests that if we simply just find our way into the nooks and crannies of the masses through political tightrope walking, then we'll get there eventually. And so I think a lot of us simply just disagree on the method to arrive at liberation. Those who are angry with me are reformists. Those who stand with me are revolutionaries. You know, and reformists essentially believe that we got to work with the system we got, and revolutionaries believe that we got to force the system into something better. And so when we look at someone and a cabinet and an administration that is so vehemently moving in the wrong direction, we would need an energy that is antithetical to that to swing it in the other direction, a direction that is for us. And, you know, folks who are politicians are simply just not able to do that. And frankly, even if you love Obama, he is not representative of that. What we can agree on is that we do not have equality for Black people in this nation. But what we have yet to agree on is how to get it. So that is my peace offering to y'all. I don't know why I'm grabbing my titty. That's my peace offering to y'all. I know y'all got your thoughts on me. You mad at me, all the things. But nonetheless, I extend that to you. Good night.
I want to also bring something just to our attention. Why is it that we don't expect our presidents to then be public servants after their terms? Why don't we expect people in political office to be public servants after their terms? Particularly now that I hear that, I didn't even know this, that Congress are getting free health care. Why is that not an expectation? After his term, Jimmy Carter literally dedicated the rest of his life to public servitude. He dedicated the rest of his life to public servitude. However, we really don't expect that from our former presidents. We expect them to do very little. And when I see people in the comments say things like, Obama, did you really expect him to do X, Y, Z? I think that elucidates the problem. At one point in time, I was like those people. I mean, he's a president. Did you really expect him to? We should have. We should have expected that. And then we had a second chance with Kamala, and we did the same dance, which was not expecting. If we as Black people in this nation expect to have any liberation related to our Blackness, you cannot keep doing this false projection around how your identity shows up in that, or else just let the identity go. If you're not going to show up in spaces as a Black person where you know that unique experience, that unique experience is going to be felt by you and by everyone there, then just disassociate yourself from it. If you're not going to expect that from other Black people in their spaces, disassociate yourself from it. One of the biggest wake-up calls for me in Black Hollywood was realizing that, most of these Blacks are really just here to attain white access to wealth.
They're not here to open doors or to change narratives or to regain control of, Black media. No. They're here to be seen and to get bread and to hoard it. So I was never going to survive there because I don't even do that. That's not how I exist. So you're never going to be able to agree with me if you feel like it was a fair expectation that the first Black president would be not expected to be even a semblance of revolutionary. And back in the day, I was with you. And you all think when I say revolutionary that I mean that he's going to Fidel Castro and lead a coup. And that's not even what I'm talking about. However, I do want to remind you that when we talk about the Black leadership, but particularly in Africa, many of these men were given very little to lead with. And they found a way. So to suggest, oh, well, Obama, he didn't have Congress, he didn't have this and that. He had the people. And ultimately, if we, the people, make demands, we eventually get them, even if it is through violence. But he was actually there to be a dampener for the people. Make folks happy. And he did that. I saw someone say Obama made folks happy. And so that was enough. That was enough. If you're happy with your hands behind your back, that's fine. But Joe Biden also made folks happy. And I was there. I was with y'all happy. And then I woke up. And now I'm looking around wondering, where are these people after they do their public servitude? We're in the midst of a crisis. If Kamala Harris were to run again, right? Wouldn't this be the time to be out here? You know who is, though? Gavin Newsom, because he gonna run. If we're gonna see any shift, we're gonna have to see local government positions go to people who are public servants. And we're gonna have to see federal positions somehow shift the presence of dark money in politics. And that's not going to happen right now. It's not going to happen right now. And, when people say that Obama showed up in significant ways for the Black community, we're just going to agree to disagree. Because for a lot of y'all, showing up for the Black community is playing basketball. And I do think it is worth noting that, yes, there were policies that were passed that inordinately positively affected the Black community in the mix of things. I'm not going to take that away. I will also, again, say that it is in the naming of things in a nation that in a nation that has a history of significantly naming Black people when it is trying to harm. That means that at the highest seat of power, we need to be just as loud about naming Black people in restorative justice practices.
PSA.
Hey! Shall I show you love? Hey, show you love. Show you love. What's up, y'all? Show you love. Thank y'all for watching the show. I said, hit me in the Cash App, baby. Drop a super, baby. Thank y'all for coming through and enjoying the show. There's some people who are here for the first time, yeah, and they are gonna learn quickly that I'm not really interested in if you disagree, because we all can see the facts, the facts, the facts, the facts. And I am not a capitalist, so your point I'm gonna miss. Shooby-dooby, shoo-ba-boom-be-doo-boom-boo-dwee, squeeze, squeeze, squaw, 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 squoo, woo, woo. Yeah, yeah. Momi says Obama and his family showed a positive and impressive image of Black people to the world, but his administration did not advance Black people in the U.S. outside of those already in that position. I think that's a great way to end it. You summed it right up, Momi. You won the chat today. Momi won the chat. Momi won the chat. Yeah. So tomorrow is Juneteenth. I will be posting a clip from my one-woman show, What Would the Ancestors Say?, talking about Juneteenth. And it will be a clip from the Lincoln Center show, possibly. I'm not sure which show, but I will post it. Part of me wanted to post it only to Patreon, but I'll give it to y'all for free since I do the show for free. So it makes sense. So go to make sure that you check it out on YouTube and do your likes and all of that good stuff. All right. Everyone have a great rest of the week. Hold your head. Keep yourself not balanced, but melodious, harmonious. Sorry, not melodious, harmonious. Keep yourself harmonious. All right. And yeah, be like Tiffany. If you have a smart, funny, and black shirt, rock that joint tomorrow, man. Rock that joint tomorrow. So everybody, fabulous time. Cheers, toodaloo, and ta-ta for now. Until next time, this has been Views from AmandaLand. Let's get into our 60 seconds of stillness. 30 seconds of stillness. I enjoyed laughing and learning with you. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And tell your friends. Also, listen to the podcast. It's available everywhere pods are casted. Listen ad-free by subscribing to Patreon Amanda Seals. Come on and join the Seals Squad. Views from AmandaLand. Live 10 a.m. Eastern, Monday through Wednesday, with content on Thursday and Friday at YouTube Amanda Seals TV.
Smart, funny, and